and she has 2 years of experience in technical writing. She is going to talk about customer collaboration, how important it is for us as technical writers to interact and collaborate with our customers. So, due to some technical issues, we are waiting her to take up the podium. We'll just wait for 2 more minutes.
Thanks for joining me in this session. I'm Niveditha, working as an information services engineer with CA Technologies since December 2012. So I passed out of college and joined CA. So before we, actually get into the session, I'd like to ask you all something. We'll make this a very interactive session. We'll talk, learn, discuss, interact, share your experiences, and I'll share my experiences, and let's make this very interactive. It wouldn't be that boring one-way session where I'll be talking. So yeah, I encourage all of you to talk as much as possible. So before we actually get started, why do you think we as a bunch of technical writers have took time off from our busy schedules, end of sprints, deadlines, and gathered in here today at this place? Why do you think so? Anybody? Absolutely. So we as writers, we want to collaborate, learn new things, share our experiences, innovate, brainstorm, all this, mash up our experiences and get out as better writers, right? So as writers, when we're putting in so much effort in catching up with one another and learning and sharing, don't you think it is important for us as technical writers to get to know our customers? Right? It is important, right? Very, very important. At least, in this generation where customer is the center of the universe, I think it's very, very, very important for all of us to know our customers. So let's get started. So I don't like the agenda slide, so I'm just skipping. So anyway, we'll talk about why we don't have time for customers and why we should take some time out for our customers, and how we need to collaborate with them, the various channels that we need to collaborate with them. And once we collaborate, we get feedback, right? So how we should act upon that feedback, and how we can drive customer collaboration, and some good enough practices that all of us can follow, and we'll discuss and summarize it. I'll give you a couple seconds to look at this cartoon. Yeah, I'm sure most of us empathize with this cartoon, right? So none of us have, dedicated time to get onto a user community and check what the customer has to say. We are, boggled with inputs from our developers, from our QA guys, review feedback from our peers, our managers. So we strive hard, we as technical writers strive hard and harder to write stuff that is, that impresses our managers, our peer reviewers. But I just thought about this, a while ago. Do I actually step into the shoes of a customer and think from his point of view? Have I ever done that before? I don't think so. As a fresher into the job, my job, I was only looking at my job description that's there in my offer letter. It's only interact with the developers, get feedback, learn what the product is about, and keep writing. So it was only to write and write and write. It was never, actually understand the customer's point of view. So so that was such a wrong notion and idea and ideology that I had back then. But it's important that we as writers should know who our customers are and what they'd like from us. So I also had this thought of that there are only 4 bunch of guys in most of our organizations who are entitled to interact with customers. There are 4 S's as I call. There's sales, support, services, and anybody else? The 4th one? There's sales, the support, the services, and SWAT. So these are the 4 guys who are entitled and to bear with the customer day in and day out. So they get out there on the field, they actually go speak to the customers. Now there's a 5th guy who's getting added to these bunch of guys, and they are none other than information services or technical writers. So now our job role has become quite dynamic, right? In this generation of technology, I think we are evolving day in, day out. So it's important for us as technical writers to interact with our customers, know what they feel like, understand their points of view, and then document accordingly. So, and for years, I think we've been evangelizing the importance of understanding customers' needs, desires, and priorities, and deliver software that helps them successfully achieve their goals. But it goes simply beyond trying to understand the customer's point of view through, surveys and feedback ratings. It's a lot more to that. A simple survey wouldn't actually tell us what the customer is thinking all about. So it's a lot more to that. It is so much more powerful to actually work collaboratively with customers to ensure that we are on the same path as the customers are. So besides coming up with impressive results by working together, the very nature of collaboration helps build stronger relationships among your stakeholders. So the moment you start interacting with your customers, it kind of builds that strong relationship among your stakeholders and the customers who are involved with them, and also the cross-functional teams. You kind of build this credibility among your teams and the people who you work with. And it also builds very, very strong relationships among the customers themselves. So you have a customer from company A, you have a customer from company B, and you have a customer from company C. When you're collaboratively working together, all these A, B, C come together and they form a stronger bond. Thereby acting as an ally, and they'll be, great advocates for your company, thereby enhancing your company's ratings in the market. So it's a lot more to that. I mean, we extrapolate the data. It's a lot more to that. A simple collaboration with customers has a huge impact on a company per se. So and I think there are unlimited scenarios where that we can quote where we have wins by interacting with customers. But let's take a small example to see how it is to work collaboratively with customers. Like Sammy has mentioned in the morning today in his session about a piece of furniture, I have similar example. So there's this company who manufactures great furniture, and they came up with this new bookshelf, a bookcase which is easy to use, assemble, and which occupies lesser space. So the customers went gaga about it, and they bought 100 units. Now they started they started assembling it. The problem comes here. So the customer stumbled upon an assembly point where he couldn't go beyond that. Because the instructions were vague, they were very unclear. So he got very frustrated. So what is the solution? I mean, what would any of us do? Immediately call? Support. Absolutely. So the customer has called support, and the customer service representative has guided him through the procedure, and he's done. He's not very satisfied, but he's done with his job. The customer has done assembling the bookshelf, and he's left it. But having the customer service representative talk through the assembly process for 100 customers, do you think that makes any better sense? No, right? So what is the solution? What do we do? let's see how collaboration comes into picture here and how it can yield better results. So the customer service representative talks to all the customers who have issues with this bookshelf assembly. So he collects feedback from them. He collects ideas how the customers think the instruction should have been, and pulls in all this data. And then he sees to that this information gets percolated down to the information services or the technical writing teams. What the technical writing teams do is they pull in this data and they reciprocate the same in the documentation and update their documentation accordingly. So and this time they smartly invite the customers over who have had issues, and they were asked to test out this new improved process, and the customers are quite happy because it's all their point of view in the documentation and it's not how the information services engineer thought it was. So they're very happy and they went back home happily. So end of story. So this is just a small example, but if you can extrapolate this example to a situation or a scenario at your organization level, I think we can do this, right? We can actually get in touch with our customers, know their points of view, their ideas, their ideologies, and actually incorporate the same into what we write. So which will again result in happier customers. So now that we've understood how important it is to collaborate with our customers, we'll see how we can do it. So I call these as channels of collaboration, or how, the media through which we can collaborate with our customers. We at CA Technologies, use majorly these 4 channels to interact with our customers. The first one being the user communities. The user communities, I must say, are the first and foremost collaboration platform that we at CA use. Because every product has a dedicated user community, and sometimes it is specific to the product. It's always specific to the product, but sometimes it is specific to the geography, the language, and also the release. So each release has its own product community where customers keep talking, sharing ideas, innovate. They keep innovating there. It's very interactive, and the product teams also quite keenly participate on these user communities to get some great feedback and some great knowledge from the customers. So user communities are a great way of collaborating with our customers. And Scrum activities. So most of us are going agile, or we're already agile, right? So Scrum activities like backlog grooming meetings and sprint reviews are again, wonderful platforms for us to get in touch with our customers. So at CA, most of our customers sign up for these end of sprint reviews and they come and sit on the reviews. So at the end of every sprint, as in we have 2-week sprints and 4-week sprints, at the end of every sprint when we deliver the product for that particular sprint, the customer comes and sits on the call and he'll actually, see through what it is, how the product has been developed, how the feature has been developed throughout the sprint. And he'll have some feedback, and the feedback will be taken into consideration, and it's all up to the user to accept or reject a story. If he is satisfied, he'll accept it and we go ahead with that. If he doesn't like it and he has more to add to it, then we start improvising and building upon it. So I think again Scrum activities, and especially backlog grooming meetings. So we all of us have huge backlogs, right? Product backlogs. We have a plethora of user stories, epics. It's huge and it's very haywire. So we actually invite our customers to come sit on the backlog grooming meetings and prioritize the stories and epics for them. So it's ultimately their product, right? They're going to use it. So we thought it's sensible to directly ask the customers to prioritize these items according to their own wish. And it's like we've had some great success stories behind doing such activities on our scrums. Then social media. So there are products which don't have like very active customer bases. In such instances, the professional networks like LinkedIn and all, CA has a dedicated product communities on professional networks like LinkedIn. So people join there, and it's similar to user communities, but it's on the social media and it's public. So the developers, the QA engineers, the information services engineers, all of them join, they participate in the discussion threads, in the forums very actively, and yeah, we've got some pretty good stuff going on there also. And support, last but not the least. I think, I must say that support knows the pulse of the customer, because every day they take calls from people, from customers. They know what it is like to interact with the customer. So I think support quite well knows what it is, the customer wants. So, as we as information services engineers at CA have started this program of interacting with support once in a while. So we go sit with those guys actually and, listen to those support calls. We sit on those calls and analyze what, the customer wants and build up stories around them and start working on those. So we've also had some great, success stories around support, interacting with support. Yeah. Yeah. So, to be specific, I myself had a success story, by interacting with customers on the user communities. So back then when I was working on this mainframe product called 2E, I stumbled upon this thought one day. I was wondering, see, all mainframe products have this huge, humongous legacy documentation, which are like seriously tedious to handle. I myself would get very bored after writing a couple lines. I would be like, okay, what is this? This is all code. I'm not able to understand or make out anything out of it. So I'm like, okay, so how do I improvise this? If I myself am, getting so bored with this documentation, how as a user, would the customer feel like? So, I stumbled upon this and I didn't know how to go about, pursuing this idea further. So I went ahead and spoke with my manager. So my manager is like, when you think how the customer feels, go and ask him. I'm like, okay, can I? She's like, yeah, why not? We have these user communities. I didn't know that we have user communities till that day. So I'm like, okay, fine. But what I thought is, I should have some data for me, with myself before I go and ask the customers. We don't want to sound too ignorant with the customers, right? So what I did is I, went on a call with Steve, one of my support engineers. So Steve gave some good enough data for me to, actually start a conversation with the customers. So Steve said, Niveditha, there are so many issues that people call us for, and I think these are the most frequent issues. So, take this data, see how you can collate it, and, go ahead and ask the customers. So I kind of got that data, tried something out, and I went ahead and asked the customers, hey, we have this documentation in place, and I know you guys are using it, but do you think, by any chance we have, do you see any ray of hope by, where you want us writers as to improve the way we are writing? So the customers went, it became quite viral on the user communities because TUI has one of the most active customer bases in CA. So the response was humongous again. Like we had so many customers responding saying that, yeah, this is such a great idea. I think these are some of the issues and pain points that we have using our product. So why don't you write a scenario? Why don't you write an article? Why don't you make a video, instructional video? The response was great, and we had developed a great backlog out of those responses, and we've made some really good backlog, and we've written down so many scenarios which the customers loved. So that's one of the success story that I personally had by interacting with customers.
So in this case, user community is
Yeah.
part of social media, right?
Yeah.
Almost the same channel.
Yeah. So yeah, so why I mentioned social media is not all organizations have dedicated user communities per se. So, in case you don't have, it's easy to start groups on social media. People are quite active on social media in this generation, so it's easy for you to build up. So I think in case you do not have dedicated user communities in your organization, I think social media is a great way of getting started. Sure. So now that we got everything, we spoke with the customers, we asked for feedback, now we have the feedback. We have feedback on the user communities, we have feedback on different social media sites. Now how do we collate it? Managing feedback, getting feedback is important, but acting upon feedback is more important, right? So now how do I manage all this data? So, there are so many tools like Yahoo Pipes, RSS feeds, dashboards like Hootsuite, which actually enable us to, aggregate information from different sources. So, Yahoo Pipes again, it aggregates information from different web feeds, web pages, and it will give you a consolidated information, and it's very user friendly to use. So I think these are some of the tools that you can use to collate the feedback. Now that we've collated the feedback, we need to analyze the feedback. Collating is easy, and analyzing is a different ball game altogether. So I think these four things are the main sources of feedback that we get. We get feedback through emails, we get feedback through survey results, we get feedback through comments and ratings. Let's take emails. Emails are very specific. The customer has an issue and they shoot an email to the information services saying that, hey, this is not okay with the documentation. Please go ahead and modify it accordingly. So we act upon that. Survey results. Survey results, I must say, are very generic. Like, they wouldn't talk to the point, but they give an overall overall picture of what it is to read our documentation. So to act upon survey results, I think we should, put out an action plan, know what it is, and act upon it accordingly. We need a dedicated action plan to work on survey results. Comments again. Comments are again very specific. On wikis, on other sources, people just go ahead and comment saying that, hey, again, this is not okay with the line that you've written. They're very, centric to the particular line, phrase, or paragraph. So we again act upon it accordingly. We close the feedback loop, by responding to the customer and addressing the issue. Ratings. Ratings talk about the quality of our documentation. They rate it, things like net promoter scores, they actually determine the quality of our documentation. So by which, we can always improve and act upon it. So I think I'd like to quote an example again. We at CA are, slowly evolving. It's almost been a year. We've been transferring all our data to the wikis. Now everything, all the documentation is on wiki. It's all publicly available. No more, logins necessary for you to go ahead and see the information. And we're doing a good job there. So. And we've integrated Google Analytics to the wiki, so you actually get to see the customer's behavior, track it, and all of that. And analytics. Analytics is a different scenario altogether. Analytics doesn't quite talk about the feedback, but it will let you know to track the user's behavior. So by looking at the number of page views, by looking at the number of visitors, the geographies from which they're visiting your pages, all these parameters let you determine the user's behavior. So you actually determine what they're looking for. The bounce rates, if the bounce rate is high, it's not good for you. It means, the user has stumbled upon your page accidentally and he's looking for something else and he didn't find that information, so he went back. So bounce rate is something that we need to act upon. So there are a lot of parameters in analytics. It will take a different session altogether. Analytics, again, it's a very, very important thing, and it will let you know your user's behavior. So we'll see how we can drive customer collaboration. Participation in the communities. Again, as I have mentioned, I think we should all take that first step and start speaking with our customers, collaborating with them on the user communities. Product knowledge. So this is very important, I must say. So again, as I mentioned earlier, we don't want to sound ignorant when we are speaking with our customers. So I think we should have, a respectable amount of product knowledge for us to go ahead and speak with our customers. So what I encourage and what I do personally is, I go sit with my developers, try and understand what it is for a customer, what this story means for a customer, please explain. So they would explain and I would understand, and that's when I go ahead and speak with the customers actually, not just sounding too ignorant there. So I think all of us should build upon product knowledge before we actually get out there and speak with the customers. And forums to connect with the customers. So in case, again, if in case we do not have dedicated communities, I think social media is again a great way for us to get started. Go ahead, encourage your organizations to create these small groups on the social networking sites, join those groups, participate, and take that first step and go ahead. Yeah, this is again important. Plans to close the feedback loop. So we receive feedback from our customers, but what if the feedback just goes off? Like we look at it and then we forget about it. That's not going to help us, right? So we need to have a plan, a proper plan jotted down for us to close that feedback loop. We need to keep the turnaround time in mind, and we should actually work on closing the feedback loop. It's very important. Stakeholder involvement. I must say this is very interesting. Some stakeholders, they're actually very reluctant in getting out there and speaking with the customers. When I said for one of these mainframe products that we should actually go get out there and speak with the customers, the product owner is like, hey, I don't think so. I'm like, okay, why? I don't think we would want to encourage more questions from the customer because we already have so many. And it doesn't make any sense that way. The customers are there. If you're avoiding these questions now, they're going to come back to you in some other time through something else. So why don't you take this up now? And I think as writers, we are all very good at explaining things, and we are good at convincing people. I think we should all convince our stakeholders. In case they are reluctant to get out there and speak with the customers, we should do that. And these are some good enough practices that I think we all can follow. As you can see, I emphasized on actively participate in user communities and forums. Participation is not a one-time thing, right? We need to keep it consistent. We need to keep continuously monitoring, and it has to be consistent throughout. So you need to actively participate, and it's not a one-time thing. We do it once and we forget about it. No, not going to help. So actively participate in user communities and forums. Respond to customers' comments in a timely manner. Again, the feedback loop comes into picture. So, at CA, I think we are doing a good job on this. Now that the wiki is in place, the SLA for the wiki says that the customer's issue will be acknowledged within 24 hours of the issue being posted. So as soon as the customer posts the issue, within 24 hours, and a technical writer acknowledges the issue and also addresses the issue if the resolution is available to him. So I think it's a great way of doing it, and we should all take it up in that way. We should actually close the feedback as soon as possible. And using support as a medium to collaborate with customers. Again, support, those guys no, nothing like support. They know everything about the customers. I think as writers, we should constantly interact with support. This is a big lesson that I've learned. Interacting with support, it'll help, guys. It works wonders, seriously. And gathering customer feedback from sprint reviews. So again, I'd like to quote a small example here. We, at the end of every sprint, after demonstrating our user stories, we graph their happiness. So on a scale of 1 to 10, the customers rate their happiness on that scale. So it's an 8 or a 9 or a 10. And we ask them at the end, why do you think it's an 8? Why do you think it's a 9? And we don't ask for 10s because that's the maximum. So if it's an 8 or 9, they actually give us some feedback and we incorporate that feedback, and we've done good job. We got 12s and 15s on 10 also. So I think that's a great way of getting customer feedback from sprint reviews. Through product beta validation. I think, all our organizations, I think they should encourage product validations with customers. The customers actually come, get a hands-on the product, on the documentation, and get some great feedback over there. Let's summarize. So collaborating with the customers through various channels is what we've learned, and how we need to collate and analyze the feedback, and how we need to continuously look out for evolving channels, improvised processes and procedures to interact with our customers, because it's important that we do it, because in this world, nothing like a customer. All of us are working for our customers. So I think it's important for us to interact. And I think, all these intellectual minds, resonating with one another, I think we yield best results. So that's it. So any discussion, feedback, questions? Yes.
Could you please go back to the rest?
Sure. 1 second.
No,
Yes, question. No, we still have the same time. I work on 3 Scrum teams, but so yeah, this is a big challenge, right? For all of us, we work on 3-4 Scrum teams, different projects. I think what I personally do is I cut short on my meetings. So if it's a 1-hour meeting, I walk out after half an hour when my part of the job is done, because I get invited to all the technical debt meetings, all the meetings that involve only development and QA, which actually don't value add anything for me. So I go, I get the gist of it, and then I walk out. I say openly, because it's not making any sense to me. So I rather use this time for something else. That'll actually which actually let me do a better job. So yeah, that's a challenge, and I think all of us should, we have to customize it accordingly. Thank you. Yeah, please.
So you said you have a wiki where comments are...
Yeah.
So if a customer posts comments, the
Yes.
other customers also do see that.
Yes, they do.
So if it's a comment which is kind of not, if it's kind of comments about a document, so how do you respond to that? Maybe there's some error in that, so which is made publicly.
Which is okay.
Available.
It is okay. The whole point of making the documentation public and making everything public out there is please go ahead and try your hands on wiki.ca.com. We have a lot of products there. You should go actually see what is happening there. Yeah, please.
How do you handle the negative criticism? Yeah,
Tough question.
So that may come because social
yeah,
media
definitely.
is like a fire and it may spread.
It does.
How does it affect the product?
It doesn't affect the product much. I think as writers we are quite sensitive. I felt very bad when I did get some feedback like that. The customer's like, hey, it doesn't make any sense. I don't think I should read your document at all. I'm like, okay, fine. Thank you. We'll get back to you with an improvised document. I think that's how we handle it. Just don't take it personally. That's all. Yeah. Please do. Yeah.
The thing is, it's feedback. It's the person is giving feedback. It could be given in a good we've all heard it, from dev teams most of the times. Documentation is not good at all.
Yeah, they say that. They do.
So the first reaction used to be, how can you say that? I put in so much effort in this document. So when you sort of mature and understand, you say, okay, great. Tell me exactly what part of it is not helpful. So at that time, it boils down to probably just one procedure, which is not very clear.
Exactly.
So start asking specific questions, you'll get more feedback from that.
Yeah.
Also, with regards to collate and analyze customer feedback, there are two more parts to it, which comes as a part of the analysis, which is prioritize and also plan.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
All of the feedback that comes to us, we may not be able to do it overnight.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But sometimes there's something which is a sort of blood in the document. It has to be fixed. So you can't ask the customer to wait for the next release also.
Absolutely.
Right? So there has to be.
That's the, that purpose I think Wiki is serving. We immediately look at it and we have like umpty number of versions getting published day in and day out. So I think that way Wiki is a great thing, all of us are doing. Anymore. And to add, one second before I take your question, to add to that, and I think this is quite contagious, Hey, your documentation, we don't read it. One guy says and the rest of guys resonate with him, they echo with him, which doesn't make any sense. I think as learned professionals, I think we should respect each, we should empathize with what the others are doing, like how we empathize with the QA and dev guys. I think they should also do with us the similar thing. I think that should be taught. I think it's a common problem that all of us face. So it's quite contagious, that kind of feedback and comments. Yeah, please.
Hey, I have two questions. The first one is, what if the stakeholders are your customers? Okay, I'm not sure if you understand that question, but if the engineering team...
Like internal customers,
yeah, internal customers.
Right.
And the second question is, this will work for a product that is quite mature in the market. How about new products? If it's a fairly new product which does not have a lot of customers or not even one customer.
Mm-hmm. So to take that first question of yours, if stakeholders are your customers, I think it's easier then, right? Because it's easy to convince somebody within your organization rather than going out and talking to somebody else.
Well, I'm not sure of that because you just said
it is a tough job.
You call your stakeholder to talk to the customer.
It is a tough job, but it's not like we can't do it. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Okay, I don't think I kind of quite answer your question because, but new products have something, that's very positive. They have a lot of scope in the market, which kind of triggers that. I think new products have a lot of new ideas coming in, new ideas being pulled in. If not customers, I think developers and, the teams themselves can form groups and talk among themselves. That kind of triggers, the customers also to start building upon it. The more you talk, the more it is out there. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sunila Johnson from Technotree. I have a question. Like there's a saying that people say that, if you try to please everyone, you please none. So where do you draw the line and who decides on that? That's the first question. And the second question is like in our company itself, we have 2 opcos, okay, and we deliver the same product with certain customization, and the feature that is kind of delivered might be same, but we have some kind of a secrecy between 2 opcos. So when we go into social media, we're opening that up. So have you faced any scenarios like that, and how did you handle it?
To answer your question, okay, I can't see you now. Okay, so to answer your question, if there's some secret information that you're not supposed to, if there's confidential information that you're not supposed to, then make that group very, restricted. That's what we do. When we have a product that is being developed throughout the release, that will be a closed group. Only the team that's working on that particular product and the customers who are involved with the product validation throughout the product development only have access to that particular group. on the user communities. I'm not very sure how we can handle that on social media, but if it's a user community that's on your, within your organization's network, I think then you can handle that, the privacy of that particular group. That's how we do it. We have, for the beta releases, we have dedicated groups where only the product teams that are working on that product and the customers who are involved with that product validation only get access to that particular group. So that's how we handle it. And one more question I kind of forgot. Right. So I think that, I'm an associate writer, so I kind of get in touch with my architect, my information architect, my manager, my lead writers, and they kind of give me suggestions and ideas of where to draw the line is. And I think, if we have quite enough knowledge on the product, I think we'll quite know how to handle those issues. In case we are quite new to the product and we are very naive in that area, I think we can always, approach our managers or the lead writers who've already had enough experience on that product. So, okay, these...
One point I had.
Okay, I'm forced to close this. Yeah, please.
Excuse
last
me.
question.
One point I had. I'm Joseph George from MetricStream.
Yeah, hi.
On collating and analyzing customer feedback. I think one which ties in very strongly will be the FAQs. So I think we'll have to really major in on the FAQs with the customer feedback and the product knowledge that you mentioned. So I think we'll have to really look at it in all our documents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in case you have further questions, please feel free to email me, niveditha.desabattina@ca.com. So that's it. Thank you so much. I've learned so much. Thank you. It's a wonderful opportunity and I'm very glad. Thank you so much.